And what is the expectation of Brad Holmes? We know they are calling. We know it is serious. Dan Campbell is vetting players. The Chiefs have a clear need at wide receiver, and they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. The deal is expected to be finalized today. ESPN says it's for a conditional fourth-round pick. They're addressing their biggest need. They're the only undefeated team left in football. They're back-to-back Super Bowl champs. It feels like Detroit and Kansas City are on a collision course. They're doing what they need to do. Detroit, I do expect, will address their biggest need at edge. John, will it be a move bigger or smaller than DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City?
Well, I mean, so DeAndre Hopkins will be impactful. Mm-hmm. Does he come in? Is he their number one receiver? I mean, how old is DeAndre Hopkins? How much juice does he have left in the tank?
Right.
And all of those things will go to answer how impactful. I mean, he's 32 years old, so he's
the same age as Zadarius Smith, who I would use as a comp. Day 3 pick to address the need. I don't think Hopkins, to your point, is DeAndre Hopkins of old, but it's a body that helps strengthen a clear, glaring weakness.
All right, so
will they do
I think
more
it's
than Zadarius Smith?
No, I think they'll go Zadarius Smith type of player.
Okay.
I was about to say Zadarius. And so, but I also don't think. So you're saying it's a conditional fourth?
That's what the ESPN is saying. Yes.
All right. Yeah. So if they win the Super Bowl, it probably pops up to a 3. It stays 4 if they don't. I'm just guessing.
It could be something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's the route that they go with Zadarius or somebody of like ability to where we'll give you a 5th. I don't think they're going to have to go 4th, but maybe it's a conditional 5th. Hey, if we win the Super Bowl, we'll give you a 4th.
And Detroit has their 4th and 5th picks. Yeah.
And he has, X number of snaps in that.
He has to play and contribute and certain thresholds. Yeah, I wonder because I know the big names out there are much bigger than DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, edge is such a premier position, and the small percentage chance that is a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett. But I think there are guys in between a Zadarius Smith and a Max Crosby. I think Harold Landry is a bigger move. Same team, Tennessee Titans, a bigger move than adding DeAndre Hopkins.
It may be a more impactful move because he's going to play more snaps.
It costs more, too.
It's also, when you think of Terrell Williams, who is their D-line coach, he's very familiar with Harold Landry, having worked with him for the last few years. But it's not a one-for-one same position fill. Harold Landry is not an edge defender. He's a Sam linebacker who also rushes the passer. Now, we mentioned this yesterday, some of the added benefits is it could be really good for Jack Campbell to be able to watch and learn from a player that has reached his level, to be able to mimic some of what he does, learn from how he approaches rushing from that position as a linebacker.
Yeah, Aiden's 6'7", 270, right? And he played the run really well.
Sets the edge.
Yeah. Harold Landry grades out as one of the better edge run defenders in football. And I don't treat PFF as gospel, I understand. But they had graded him out as very strong against the run. He's not one of these pure speed edge guys, one way to get home. I mean, he's gotten to the quarterback double-digit times a year ago. He has multiple seasons with double-digit sacks, and it's not while giving up much against the run. I think on third down, he would be playing in a similar spot that Aiden is, right? On third and long especially. And I think that's where you're worried about missing Aiden the most, is third down, get off the field, obvious passing downs. They need someone who can win one-on-one, and Harold Landry wins one-on-one. To me, he's the bigger than Hopkins move that feels attainable. They're 1-5. They just traded DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like if you're Detroit, that's a team that you can be calling on and expecting to get a deal done with if you're willing to pay.
I go back to the other issue is, he is having this success, and I think he would be successful in any defense. They run nod front.
Oh, fair.
All right, so you got a nose and you got two head-up tackles on your offensive tackle. So now all of a sudden you have an offensive tackle that is setting out wider. He's passing up one to get to another. Whereas if he's lining up with the Lions, it's not going to be lining up with the same situation and the same setup.
No, and I mean, not to geek out about it, and you're right, but Detroit has a lot of beef on the interior of their defensive line, and they can get creative with how they deploy them. I'm not proposing an entire shift change for one player, but John, they are relying on a lot of interior guys to occupy blocks. Can you kind of create a similar one-on-one situation for Landry when you have Reeder and you have McNeil and you're going to use
Onwuzurike?
Yeah.
You can, but I'm just saying it's not a 1-for-1 because he's coming from one system and will be plugged into a completely different one. That's do they believe in their analysis of Harold Landry, if that's the direction they go, that he can make that transition and be as effective in this defense, not just this year, but moving forward, as he has been in Tennessee's defense?
So we'll take phone calls, 248-539-9797. Ticket text. You see what Chiefs are doing? What do you want the Lions to do? And John, why don't